Okay, class, welcome to lesson 2 about migrations in Rwanda. And we are going to look at consequences of migration in Rwanda. These effects or consequences are experienced in both receiving areas and sending areas. Some are for sending areas and others are for receiving areas. So when you look at effect number 1, there is increased market for the produce in the receiving areas, because when people migrate to a certain area, it means population increases, and an increase in population goes hand in hand with increased market for the produce because demand increases. Then there is also cheap source of labor in farms and industries, and this is also in receiving areas because population has increased and it increases with labor force. We have the source areas are relieved of population pressure on available resources. Source areas, sending areas where these people come from or have migrated from are relieved of population pressure on available resources, which means the resources will not be overexploited or exhausted because population pressure on these resources has reduced. Then we have the rural-urban migration in search of education helps in reducing illiteracy and again transfer of skills. See, when people migrate from rural areas to urban areas, they learn new skills in those new areas. And again, for example, if the migration was caused by search for better schools in cities, illiteracy will also be eliminated. Next, we have migration increases sources of revenue to the government, because when people migrate, for example, for business from rural areas to urban centers, they reach there, they do business, they pay taxes, and the government earns revenue. Development of infrastructures, especially roads, schools, and hospitals, because in areas where these people go, there will be high demand for these infrastructures. People will need hospitals, people will need schools, people will need roads, people will need water, people will need electricity. And therefore, the government will be pressurized to at least establish these infrastructures. Next, cultural exchange. When people migrate to a new place, a new region, a new area, they meet other new people, they exchange their cultures. For example, their languages, their dressing styles, and all other elements of culture. So one group learns from another, another group also learns from another in terms of new cultures. Then we have negative effects of migrations. Number 1, unemployment, because in the receiving area, population becomes big, and you find those who search for jobs are more than the jobs available. Then we have growth of slums in receiving areas. These are shanty towns. Yeah? And these ones are associated with a number of problems, negative issues. like poor sanitation associated with diseases. Next, increase in crime rates in the receiving areas, because these areas are congested. They have received people of different cultures, and at the end of the day, crimes increase: fighting, stealing, killing, bewitching, etc. Congestion and accidents, because when these people migrate to an area, population increases, and therefore congestion and accidents. Disease outbreak, like COVID-19. We have diseases like cholera outbreak, dysentery, because of high population associated with poor sanitation, of course. Then we have moral decay in receiving areas. For example, prostitution and drug abuse. We have environmental degradation through pollution, cutting down of trees. Then we have stagnation of rural areas, because young, energetic labor has moved from rural areas to urban areas. Therefore, when you go back to villages, you find only unproductive aged people. This brings in problems of famine, because these aged people will not carry out agriculture. Thank you.